A kind young waitress named Emma secretly pays for a poor family's meal despite her own financial struggles funding her nursing studies. Little does she know, her act of kindness will change her life when she receives a $1 million tip from someone unexpected. Emma wiped the sweat from her brow as she balanced 3 plates on her arm. The small-town diner buzzed with the chatter of regulars and the clink of silverware. She smiled warmly at the elderly couple in booth 6 as she set down their usual order. "Here you go, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. 1 stack of blueberry pancakes and a side of crispy bacon for you, sir. And for the lovely lady, a veggie omelet with extra cheese. Just how you like it." Mrs. Johnson beamed up at Emma. "Thank you, dear. You always remember our favorites." Emma's eyes crinkled with genuine affection. "How could I forget? You two brighten up my mornings." As she turned to head back to the kitchen, Emma caught sight of a young family struggling to quiet their fussy toddler. The mother looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, while the father nervously counted the change in his pocket. Emma's heart went out to them. She approached their table with a gentle smile. "Hi there. Can I get you folks started with some coffee?" The mother nodded gratefully. "Yes, please, that would be wonderful." As Emma poured the steaming coffee, she noticed the parents whispering worriedly and glancing at the menu prices. She felt a familiar ache in her chest, remembering her own family's struggles. "You know," Emma said softly, "our lunch special today is really filling and a great deal. It comes with soup, a sandwich, and a slice of pie. Perfect for sharing." The father's shoulders relaxed slightly. "That sounds good. We'll take that, please." Emma jotted down their order and headed to the kitchen. As she waited for their food, she glanced at the tip jar on the counter. It wasn't much, but it was something. She had been saving every extra penny for her nursing school tuition, but these folks needed it more right now. When the family finished their meal, Emma brought over their check with a smile. "I hope you enjoyed everything. And don't worry about the pie. It's on the house today. We had a few extra slices that needed eating up." The mother's eyes welled with tears of gratitude. "Thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to us." As the family left, Emma slipped her tip money into their bill folder. It wasn't much, but it was enough to cover their meal and leave them with a little extra. Her dream of nursing school might have to wait a bit longer, but the warmth in her heart told her it was worth it. Emma watched the family of 4 from the corner of her eye as she refilled coffee cups at a nearby table. The parents spoke in hushed tones, their faces etched with worry as they pored over the menu. Their 2 young children, oblivious to their parents' concern, colored on the paper placemats with stubby crayons. With a heavy heart, Emma approached their table. "Have you folks decided what you'd like to order?" she asked gently. The father cleared his throat. We're still looking. Maybe just some more water for now?" Emma nodded, understanding the unspoken struggle. She'd been there herself, not too long ago. As she filled their water glasses, an idea formed in her mind. Back at the counter, Emma pulled out her worn wallet. She counted the bills inside, her tips for the day, meant for her nursing school fund. With a deep breath, she made her decision. Emma discreetly asked her manager for the family's bill. She paid it in full, adding a generous tip for herself to avoid suspicion. Then she scribbled a note on a clean napkin. "Your meal has been taken care of. Everyone needs a little kindness sometimes. Pay it forward when you can. Enjoy your day." Her heart raced as she approached the family's table one last time. She slipped the note onto the table as she cleared their empty plates. "I hope you all enjoyed your meal," she said with a warm smile before hurrying away. As Emma busied herself with other tasks, she couldn't help but reflect on her own situation. Her dream of becoming a nurse seemed so close, yet so far away. Every penny she saved brought her one step closer to affording tuition, but unexpected expenses always seemed to pop up. She thought of her mother, who had always encouraged her to follow her dreams. "You have a gift for caring, Emma," she used to say. "The world needs more nurses like you." A lump formed in Emma's throat as she remembered her mother's words. The money she'd just spent on the family's meal could have gone towards her textbooks or uniforms. But as she glanced over at the table and saw the relief and joy on their faces as they read her note, she knew she'd made the right choice. Emma's own financial struggles were far from over, but in that moment, she felt rich in a way that money couldn't buy. Her dream of becoming a nurse wasn't just about the degree or the job, it was about helping people in big ways and small. Today, she'd done just that. As the family finished their meal, the mother reached for the check. Her hand froze mid-air as she spotted the napkin with Emma's handwritten note. She picked it up, her eyes widening as she read the message. "John," she whispered, her voice trembling. She passed the note to her husband, who read it with disbelief. The father's eyes welled up with tears. He looked around the diner, trying to spot their benefactor, but Emma had discreetly moved to the kitchen. "Mommy, why are you crying?" their young daughter asked, concern etched on her small face. The mother wiped her eyes and smiled. "These are happy tears, sweetheart. Someone did something very kind for us today." As the family gathered their things to leave, their faces were noticeably brighter. The weight that had burdened their shoulders when they entered seemed to have lifted. The father held the door open for his wife and children, pausing to take one last look around the diner. He nodded gratefully, even though he couldn't see Emma. From her hiding spot in the kitchen, Emma peeked out to watch the family leave. She saw the spring in their step, the way the parents held hands as they walked to their car. The children skipped alongside them, their earlier restlessness replaced by contentment. A warmth spread through Emma's chest. She may have given up a portion of her savings, but the joy of helping others filled her with a sense of purpose that no amount of money could match. It reminded her of why she wanted to become a nurse in the first place, to make a difference in people's lives, one act of kindness at a time. As she returned to her duties, Emma felt a renewed sense of determination. The path to achieving her dreams might be challenging, but moments like these made every sacrifice worthwhile. She hummed softly to herself as she wiped down tables, her heart light with the knowledge that she had brought a little bit of hope into someone else's world today. The bell above the diner's door chimed softly as an elderly gentleman stepped inside. His silver hair was neatly combed, and his suit, though simple, was impeccably pressed. He moved with a quiet dignity, his keen eyes taking in every detail of the bustling eatery. Emma looked up from wiping a table and smiled warmly. "Welcome to Rosie's Diner, sir. Please, sit wherever you'd like." The man nodded politely and chose a small booth near the window. As Emma approached with a menu, he introduced himself. "Good afternoon, young lady. I'm Mr. Thompson." "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Thompson. I'm Emma," she replied, handing him the menu. "Can I start you off with some coffee?" "Just water for now, thank you," Mr. Thompson said, his eyes crinkling at the corners as he smiled. As Emma went to fetch the water, Mr. Thompson observed the diner. He watched as she stopped to chat with an elderly couple, gently touching the woman's shoulder and laughing at something the man said. Her genuine warmth was evident in every interaction. When Emma returned with his water, Mr. Thompson ordered a simple bowl of soup and a slice of toast. "Not very hungry today?" Emma asked, a touch of concern in her voice. "Oh, it's quite enough for me, dear," he assured her. "But tell me, how are you enjoying your day?" Emma's face lit up. "It's been wonderful, actually. You know, sometimes the simplest things can make such a big difference in someone's day." As she spoke, Mr. Thompson noticed her glancing towards the door where the family she had helped earlier had sat. His curiosity piqued. He gently prodded. "Oh? How so?" Emma hesitated for a moment, then said, "Well, I just think that a little kindness can go a long way. Sometimes people are going through tough times, and even a small gesture can give them hope." Mr. Thompson nodded thoughtfully. "That's a beautiful perspective, Emma. The world could use more people like you." As Emma went to place his order, Mr. Thompson continued to observe her. He watched as she refilled coffees without being asked, offered a listening ear to a stressed-looking businessman, and slipped an extra cookie onto a child's plate with a conspiratorial wink. As Mr. Thompson finished his modest meal, he discreetly pulled out a small notebook and a pen from his jacket pocket. His weathered hands moved swiftly across the paper, penning a heartfelt message. With a gentle smile, he folded the note and placed it under his empty water glass, along with a check he had prepared earlier. Rising from his seat, Mr. Thompson caught Emma's eye and gave her a warm nod before making his way to the exit. The bell chimed once more as he stepped out into the afternoon sun, leaving behind a life-changing surprise. Emma, busy with other customers, didn't immediately notice Mr. Thompson's departure. It wasn't until she approached his table to clear it that she saw the folded paper peeking out from beneath the glass. Curious, she picked up the note and unfolded it. Her eyes widened as she read the carefully written words. "Dear Emma, your kindness and compassion have touched my heart. In a world that can often be cold and uncaring, you shine as a beacon of hope. Please accept this gift as a token of my appreciation. Use it to pursue your dreams and to continue spreading kindness in whatever way you see fit. The world needs more people like you. Sincerely, Mr. Thompson." Emma's hands trembled as she reached for the check that lay beneath the note. Her breath caught in her throat as she saw the amount written on it, $1 million. She blinked rapidly, certain she must be seeing things. But no matter how many times she looked away and back again, the zeros remained. $1 million. It was more money than she had ever imagined holding in her hands. Emma's legs felt weak and she sank into the booth Mr. Thompson had occupied just moments ago. Her mind raced with disbelief and shock. This couldn't be real, could it? Things like this didn't happen in real life, especially not to small-town waitresses with big dreams and empty bank accounts. Tears welled up in her eyes as the reality of the situation began to sink in. With shaking hands, she clutched the check and note to her chest, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and overwhelm. Emma's hands shook as she dialed Sarah's number. Her heart raced, still unable to believe what had just happened. When Sarah picked up, Emma's voice trembled with excitement. "Yes, Sarah, you won't believe what just happened. Can you come over? I need to talk to you in person." Sarah, hearing the urgency in Emma's voice, agreed without hesitation. "I'll be right there, Em." 20 minutes later, Sarah burst through Emma's apartment door, her eyes wide with concern. "What's going on? Are you okay?" Emma sat on her worn couch, the check and note clutched tightly in her hands. She looked up at Sarah, tears glistening in her eyes. Something incredible happened at work today. As Sarah settled beside her, Emma recounted the events at the diner. She told her about Mr. Thompson, his kind demeanor, and the unbelievable gift he had left behind. Sarah listened, her mouth agape, as Emma showed her the check and the heartfelt note. "Oh my goodness, Emma," Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. This is amazing. It's like something out of a movie." Emma nodded, still in disbelief. "I know. I keep pinching myself, thinking I'll wake up from this dream." Sarah took Emma's hands in hers, her eyes shining with excitement. "Emma, don't you see? This is your chance. You can finally go to nursing school." Emma's eyes widened as the realization dawned on her. In her shock, she hadn't even considered the possibilities this gift opened up. "You're right," she whispered, a smile spreading across her face. "I could actually do it. I could become a nurse." Sarah squeezed her hands encouragingly. "Of course you can. This is what you've been working towards for so long. Mr. Thompson saw your kindness and compassion, the very qualities that will make you an amazing nurse." Tears of joy spilled down Emma's cheeks as she embraced her friend. "I can't believe this is happening," she murmured. As they pulled apart, Sarah's face grew serious. "Emma, promise me you'll use this money for your education. This is your chance to make your dreams come true." Emma nodded, her resolve strengthening. "I will, Sarah. I promise. I'll apply to nursing school right away." With renewed determination and the financial means to pursue her dream, Emma took the first steps towards her new future. She spent hours researching nursing programs, carefully selecting one that would allow her to continue working part-time at the diner. After submitting her application and anxiously waiting for weeks, Emma finally received the news she had been hoping for. She was accepted into the nursing program. The day Emma stepped onto the college campus for her first class, her heart swelled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. She clutched her textbooks close to her chest, taking a deep breath before entering the lecture hall. As she settled into her seat, Emma couldn't help but smile, thinking of how far she had come. However, the reality of balancing work and school quickly set in. Emma's days became a whirlwind of activity. She'd wake up early to study before her morning classes, rush to the diner for her afternoon shift, and then return home late in the evening to tackle her assignments. The workload was intense, and there were moments when Emma felt overwhelmed. One particularly challenging day, Emma found herself struggling to stay awake during her evening study session. Her eyes kept drifting shut as she tried to memorize complex medical terms. Frustrated, she pushed her textbook away and buried her face in her hands. "I can do this," Emma whispered to herself, fighting back tears of exhaustion. "I have to do this." She thought of Mr. Thompson's kindness and the opportunity he had given her. She remembered the struggling family at the diner and how much she wanted to help people like them. With a deep breath, Emma picked up her textbook again, determined to push through her fatigue. As the weeks passed, Emma developed a routine that helped her manage her responsibilities. She learned to maximize her study time between classes and during her breaks at the diner. Her co-workers, aware of her dedication, often covered for her when she needed extra time to prepare for exams. Despite the challenges, Emma found herself thriving in her classes. Her natural empathy and genuine care for others made her stand out among her peers. Her professors took notice of her dedication and passion for nursing, often praising her work ethic. As the semester progressed, Emma's hard work began to pay off. Her dedication to her studies shone through in her assignments and exams. She approached each task with the same care and attention she had shown her customers at the diner, and it didn't go unnoticed. One day, after a particularly challenging anatomy exam, Emma's professor, Dr. Martinez, called her aside. "Emma," he said, his eyes twinkling with pride, "I wanted to commend you on your exceptional performance. Your understanding of the material is impressive, but what truly sets you apart is your genuine passion for patient care." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. "Thank you, Dr. Martinez," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm just trying my best." As news of Emma's academic success spread, her classmates began to seek her out for study sessions. They admired not only her knowledge, but also her patient and caring approach to helping others understand difficult concepts. Despite her growing success in school, Emma never forgot her roots. She continued to work at the diner, juggling her shifts with her class schedule. Her regular customers noticed the change in her, the newfound confidence that seemed to radiate from within. "You're really doing it, aren't you?" Mrs. Johnson, a longtime patron, remarked one day as Emma refilled her coffee cup. "Following your dreams and all that." Emma smiled, her eyes bright with determination. "I am, Mrs. Johnson. It's not easy, but it's worth every minute." Her earnings from the diner, though modest, helped cover her living expenses and additional study materials. Emma was careful with her finances, always mindful of the incredible gift she had received and her promise to pay it forward. As she balanced her textbooks on the diner's counter during slow periods, sneaking in a few minutes of study between customers, Emma felt a sense of pride in her journey. She was working hard, yes, but she was also proving to herself and others that dreams could become reality with perseverance and a little kindness. As Emma progressed in her nursing studies, she felt a growing desire to put her newfound knowledge into practice. She heard about a local free clinic that served underprivileged members of the community and decided to volunteer there during her spare time. On her first day at the clinic, Emma's heart raced with excitement and nervousness. The small waiting room was packed with people of all ages, many looking tired and worried. Emma took a deep breath and reminded herself why she was there, to help those in need. Dr. Paddle, the clinic's head physician, greeted Emma warmly. "We're so glad to have you here, Emma. Your professors speak highly of you." Emma blushed at the compliment. "Thank you, Dr. Patel. I'm just happy to help in any way I can." As the day progressed, Emma assisted with various tasks. She took vital signs, helped organize patient files, and even got to observe some basic procedures. But it was her interactions with the patients that truly made a difference. A young mother came in with her feverish toddler. The child was crying and clinging to her mother, clearly frightened. Emma approached them with a gentle smile. "Hi there, little one," she said softly, kneeling down to the child's level. I know you're not feeling well, but we're going to help you feel better. Can you show me your favorite toy?" The child sniffled and held up a worn teddy bear. Emma's eyes lit up. "Wow, what a special friend you have there. Would your bear like to hear your heartbeat with me?" The toddler nodded shyly, and Emma carefully placed the stethoscope on the bear's chest before letting the child listen. The simple act of kindness calmed the child, making the examination much easier for everyone. As the weeks went by, Emma became a familiar and comforting presence at the clinic. Her gentle demeanor and growing medical knowledge made her an asset to the staff and a favorite among patients. One day, an elderly man came in complaining of dizziness. As Emma took his blood pressure, she noticed his hands were shaking. "Sir, have you eaten today?" she asked gently. The man looked away, embarrassed. I ran out of groceries yesterday," he admitted quietly. Without hesitation, Emma spoke to Dr. Patel and arranged for the man to receive some healthy snacks from the clinic's small pantry. She also provided him with information about local food banks and assistance programs. As Emma continued to balance her studies, work at the diner, and volunteer efforts at the clinic, she felt a renewed sense of purpose and hope for her future. Her days were long and often exhausting, but the satisfaction she gained from helping others made every moment worthwhile. At nursing school, Emma's dedication and natural talent shone through. Her professors often praised her work, and her classmates sought her out for study groups. Emma's genuine passion for learning and her ability to explain complex concepts in simple terms made her a valuable asset to her peers. Despite the demanding schedule, Emma never lost sight of her goal. She would often catch herself smiling as she walked to class, her arms full of textbooks. The path to becoming a nurse was challenging, but Emma knew in her heart that this was exactly where she was meant to be. At the diner, Emma's regular customers noticed a new spring in her step. She shared her experiences from nursing school and the clinic with them, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Many of them, having known Emma for years, expressed their pride in her accomplishments. "You're going to make an amazing nurse, Emma," Mrs. Johnson, a longtime regular, said one day. "You've always had a gift for caring for others." Emma's cheeks flushed with pride at the compliment. "Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. That means so much to me." As the weeks passed, Emma found herself growing more confident in her abilities. At the clinic, she was entrusted with more responsibilities, and the grateful smiles of the patients she helped filled her with joy. One evening, as Emma left the clinic after a particularly rewarding shift, she paused to look up at the star-filled sky. A wave of contentment washed over her. She thought about how far she had come from the day she received that life-changing gift from Mr. Thompson. Emma silently thanked him once again for the opportunity he had given her. With a heart full of gratitude and hope, Emma walked home, eager for what the future held. She knew that the path ahead would have its challenges, but she felt ready to face them. For the first time in a long while, Emma truly believed that her dream of becoming a nurse and making a difference in people's lives was within reach. Emma's graduation day arrived, filled with a mixture of excitement and nostalgia. As she donned her cap and gown, she couldn't help but think of how far she'd come. The small diner where she'd worked seemed a lifetime away now. The ceremony was a blur of emotions. Emma's name was called, and she walked across the stage with her head held high. As she accepted her diploma, she caught sight of her friends and former co-workers from the diner cheering in the audience. Tears of joy welled up in her eyes. "Emma de la Cruz graduating with honors," the dean announced, and the crowd erupted in applause. After the ceremony, Emma was surrounded by well-wishers. Her best friend Sarah hugged her tightly, whispering, "I'm so proud of you, Em." As the celebrations wound down, Emma found a quiet moment to reflect. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but also a stirring of something else, a desire to do even more. The years in nursing school had opened her eyes to the vast world of medicine, and she felt a pull towards exploring it further. That evening, as Emma sat in her small apartment surrounded by congratulatory cards and flowers, she made a decision that would shape her future. She opened her laptop and began researching medical schools. "I can do more," she said to herself, her voice filled with determination. I can help even more people." Over the next few weeks, Emma threw herself into the application process. She studied for the MCAT, wrote heartfelt personal statements, and sought letters of recommendation from her professors. Each step brought both challenges and excitement. One afternoon, as Emma was volunteering at the clinic, she shared her plans with Dr. Anderson, a kind-hearted physician she had come to admire. "Medical school, Emma? That's wonderful," Dr. Anderson beamed. "You have a natural gift for this work. Your patients adore you." Emma blushed at the praise. "Thank you, Dr. Anderson. I just feel like I can do more, you know? I want to be able to help people in every way possible." As she continued to work on her applications, Emma often thought back to Mr. Thompson and his generous gift. She hoped that wherever he was, he would be proud of how she had used his kindness to fuel her dreams and help others. Emma's heart raced as she opened the email from her top-choice medical school. Her hands trembled as she read the first line. "Congratulations. We are pleased to offer you admission." She let out a joyful cry, tears streaming down her face. All her hard work had paid off. The next few months flew by in a whirlwind of preparations. Emma said goodbye to her colleagues at the clinic and the diner, promising to stay in touch. She packed up her small apartment, feeling both excited and nervous about the new chapter in her life. On her first day of medical school, Emma stood in front of the imposing university building, taking a deep breath to calm her nerves. As she walked into the lecture hall, she was struck by the diversity of her classmates, people from all walks of life united by their desire to heal others. The first few weeks were overwhelming. Emma found herself buried in textbooks, struggling to keep up with the intense workload. Late nights became the norm as she pored over anatomy charts and biochemistry formulas. There were moments when she questioned if she was cut out for this, but then she'd remember the patients she'd helped as a nurse and find renewed determination. One particularly challenging day, Emma sat in the library, fighting back tears of frustration over a difficult concept. A classmate named Alex noticed her distress and offered to help. Together, they worked through the problem, and Emma felt a wave of gratitude for the camaraderie among her peers. As the semester progressed, Emma began to find her rhythm. She formed study groups, learned to manage her time more effectively, and even found moments to volunteer at a local free clinic. It was during one of these volunteer shifts that Emma truly realized she was on the right path. An elderly patient came in with multiple health issues, confused and scared. Emma sat with her, holding her hand and explaining each step of the examination in simple terms. The woman's fear melted away, replaced by trust and gratitude. In that moment, Emma knew that all the late nights and stress were worth it. As Emma continued her medical studies, she never forgot the kindness that had brought her to this point. One chilly autumn evening, while volunteering at the free clinic, she encountered a young woman named Melissa who came in with her son, Tommy. Tommy, a frail boy of about 6, was running a high fever and coughing uncontrollably. Emma's heart ached as she saw the worry etched on Melissa's face. As she examined Tommy, Emma gently asked Melissa about their situation. I lost my job last month," Melissa confessed, her voice trembling. "I've been putting off bringing Tommy in because I can't afford the treatment." Emma's mind raced back to her own struggles and the anonymous gift that had changed her life. Without hesitation, she made a decision. "Don't worry about the cost," Emma said softly, placing a comforting hand on Melissa's shoulder. "We'll make sure Tommy gets the care he needs." Melissa's eyes welled up with tears of relief and gratitude. "But how?" she whispered. Emma smiled warmly. "There are programs and resources we can tap into, and whatever isn't covered, I'll take care of personally." As Emma worked with the clinic staff to arrange Tommy's treatment, word of her generosity spread quickly. Her fellow volunteers were touched by her compassion, and soon, others in the community began to hear about the kind-hearted medical student who went above and beyond for her patients. In the following weeks, Emma received numerous thank you notes from Melissa, updating her on Tommy's improving health. Each one reminded Emma of why she had chosen this path. Emma's reputation for compassion continued to grow. Patients at the clinic began to ask for her by name, finding comfort in her gentle demeanor and willingness to listen. Her professors noticed too, commending her for her exceptional bedside manner. One day, as Emma was leaving the clinic, she overheard an elderly volunteer talking to a new patient. "Oh, you're in good hands with Emma," the volunteer said warmly. "That girl's got a heart of gold, always ready to help no matter what." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that her small acts of kindness were creating ripples of hope in her community, just as Mr. Thompson's generosity had done for her. With renewed determination, she headed home to study, knowing that every page she read brought her one step closer to helping even more people in need. Emma's world was turned upside down when she received a call from her aunt. Her mother, the woman who had raised her single-handedly and supported her dreams, had suffered a stroke. Emma's heart sank as she rushed to the hospital, her mind racing with worry and fear. As she entered her mother's hospital room, Emma's medical training kicked in. She assessed the monitors and charts, her eyes darting between the numbers and her mother's pale face. The doctors explained that while her mother's condition was stable, she would need extensive care and rehabilitation. Emma's resolve strengthened. She knew she had to be there for her mother, just as her mother had always been there for her. But with her medical studies in full swing, Emma faced a daunting challenge: how to balance her education with her mother's care. In the days that followed, Emma's life became a whirlwind of activity. She'd wake up early, study for a few hours, then head to the hospital to help with her mother's physical therapy. Between classes, she'd make phone calls to arrange for home care services and medical equipment. Nights were the hardest. Emma would sit by her mother's bedside, holding her hand and reading aloud from her medical textbooks. Sometimes her mother would squeeze her hand, and Emma would feel a glimmer of hope. "You should focus on your studies, sweetheart," her mother whispered one evening, her voice weak but filled with love. Emma shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. "You're more important, Mom. We're in this together." As weeks turned into months, Emma's resilience was put to the test. There were days when she felt overwhelmed, torn between her responsibilities as a daughter and her dreams of becoming a doctor. But each time she felt like giving up, she remembered the kindness of Mr. Thompson and the difference she could make in people's lives. Emma's professors noticed her struggle and offered support, allowing her to adjust her schedule when needed. Her classmates rallied around her, forming study groups and sharing notes for the classes she missed. Even the staff at the diner where she still worked part-time pitched in, covering her shifts when emergencies arose. As Emma's struggle to balance her studies and her mother's care continued, her dedication didn't go unnoticed. Her professors, impressed by her unwavering commitment, began to take notice of her exceptional situation. One day, after a particularly grueling lecture, Dr. Anderson, Emma's favorite professor, called her aside. "Emma, I've noticed you've been burning the candle at both ends," he said, his eyes filled with concern. "Is everything all right?" Emma's eyes welled up with tears as she explained her mother's condition. Dr. Anderson listened intently, nodding with understanding. "You're doing an incredible job, Emma, but you don't have to do this alone," he said, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. Word of Emma's situation spread quickly among the faculty. Soon, a support system began to form around her. Dr. Anderson worked with other professors to create a more flexible schedule for Emma, allowing her to attend to her mother's needs without falling behind in her studies. Her classmates, too, rallied around her. Sarah, Emma's best friend, organized a study group specifically tailored to Emma's schedule. "We're all in this together," Sarah said, hugging Emma tightly. "Your success is our success." The community at large also stepped up to help. When Emma's story reached the local newspaper, volunteers from various organizations offered their services. A home healthcare agency provided discounted care for Emma's mother, while a local meal delivery service ensured that Emma had nutritious food waiting for her at home after long days at the hospital and school. Even the diner where Emma had worked for so long pitched in. Her former co-workers organized a fundraiser to help with her mother's medical expenses. The event, held on a sunny Saturday afternoon, saw the entire town turn out to support Emma and her mother. As Emma stood in the middle of the crowded diner, surrounded by familiar faces and heartfelt support, she felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Tears streamed down her face as she thanked everyone for their kindness. "You've always been there for us, Emma," said Mrs. Johnson, a regular customer at the diner. "Now it's our turn to be there for you." Emma's world came crashing down on a cold autumn morning. The call she had been dreading for months finally came. Her mother, her rock and inspiration, had passed away peacefully in her sleep. Emma felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. The days that followed were a blur of tears, hugs, and whispered condolences. Emma moved through the funeral arrangements in a daze, her heart heavy with grief. As she stood by her mother's grave, surrounded by friends and family, Emma felt more alone than ever before. But even in her darkest moment, Emma remembered her mother's words. "Honey, no matter what happens, keep moving forward. Your kindness is your strength." With those words echoing in her mind, Emma returned to her studies. It wasn't easy. There were days when the pain seemed unbearable, when she wanted nothing more than to curl up in bed and shut out the world. But each time she felt like giving up, she thought of her mother's proud smile and found the strength to carry on.
Emma threw herself into her work with a renewed determination. Hours in the library, poring over medical textbooks and case studies, her professors noticed a change in her fierce focus that hadn't been there before.
"Your mother would be so proud of you," Dr. Anderson told her one day after class. Emma nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. In her free time, Emma volunteered even more at the local clinic. She found that helping others eased her own pain. Each patient she assisted, each worried family she comforted, felt like a tribute to her mother's memory. One day, as Emma was comforting a young girl who had just lost her grandmother, she realized something. The pain of her loss would never truly go away, but it had changed her. It had made her more empathetic, more understanding of others' suffering. "You know," Emma said softly to the sniffling girl, "it's okay to be sad, but remember, your grandmother's love is always with you. She'd want you to be happy and to keep living your life to the fullest." As she spoke those words, Emma felt a warmth in her heart. She knew that her mother was still with her, guiding her steps and inspiring her to be the best doctor and the best person she could be. Emma's heart raced with anticipation as she approached the small, weathered building that housed the free clinic. The paint was peeling and the sign was faded, but to Emma, it was a beacon of hope for the underserved community it supported. As she stepped inside, the familiar scent of disinfectant filled her nostrils. The waiting room was already bustling with patients, their faces etched with worry and weariness. Emma took a deep breath, reminding herself why she was here. "Good morning, everyone," she said with a warm smile, her voice carrying across the room. "I'm Dr. Emma, and I'm here to help." The day flew by in a whirlwind of patients. Emma listened intently to each person's concerns, her gentle touch and kind words putting even the most anxious at ease. She treated everything from common colds to more serious conditions, always taking the time to explain things clearly and patiently. One patient in particular touched Emma's heart. Mrs. Rodriguez, an elderly woman with arthritis, had been putting off seeing a doctor because she couldn't afford the medication. Emma's eyes welled up as she listened to the woman's story. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Emma said softly, taking the woman's wrinkled hand in hers. "We're going to figure this out together, okay? There are programs that can help with the cost of your medication." As Emma worked with the clinic's social worker to find a solution for Mrs. Rodriguez, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was why she had become a doctor, to make a real difference in people's lives. By the end of the day, Emma was exhausted but exhilarated. As she packed up her stethoscope and hung up her white coat, she couldn't help but smile. Every patient she had seen, every life she had touched, reinforced her commitment to giving back. "Thank you for coming today, Dr. Emma," the clinic coordinator said, gratitude evident in her voice. "You have no idea how much your help means to this community." Emma nodded, her heart full. "I wouldn't want to be anywhere else," she replied honestly. As Emma walked through the bustling halls of the medical school, she couldn't help but smile. It had been a long journey from waitress to doctor, and now she found herself in a position to help others on their own paths. "Dr. Emma," a voice called out. She turned to see Sarah, a second-year medical student she had been mentoring. Sarah's eyes were bright with excitement as she approached. "I got the internship," Sarah exclaimed, her voice bubbling with joy. "Just like you said I could." Emma's heart swelled with pride. "That's wonderful, Sarah. I knew you had it in you." As they chatted about Sarah's upcoming internship, Emma noticed a small group of first-year students huddled nearby, looking lost and overwhelmed. She recognized that look all too well. "Come on," Emma said to Sarah. "Let's go say hello." The young students looked up in surprise as Emma and Sarah approached. "Hi there," Emma said warmly. "You all look like you could use a friendly face. I'm Dr. Emma, and this is Sarah. We've been right where you are now." One of the students, a young man with tired eyes, spoke up. It's so much harder than I thought it would be. Sometimes I wonder if I'm cut out for this." Emma's heart went out to him. She remembered feeling the same way not so long ago. "You know," she said gently, "I used to be a waitress in a small-town diner. I dreamed of becoming a doctor, but it seemed impossible." The students listened intently as Emma shared her story, the struggles, the doubts, and the unexpected kindness that had changed her life. She told them about the mysterious Mr. Thompson and his generous gift, and how she had used it to pursue her dreams while continuing to help others. "The road ahead won't be easy," Emma admitted, "but it's worth it. Every life you touch, every person you help, it makes all the hard work meaningful." As Emma spoke, she could see hope rekindling in the students' eyes. They asked questions, shared their own fears and aspirations, and by the end of the conversation, they stood a little taller, their spirits lifted. "Remember," Emma said as they prepared to part ways, "your journey is unique. Embrace it, learn from it, and use it to make a difference in the world." Emma's dedication to her studies and her community had not gone unnoticed. One sunny afternoon, as she was leaving the free clinic where she volunteered, her phone buzzed with an email notification. Her heart skipped a beat as she read the subject line, "Congratulations on your scholarship award." With trembling fingers, Emma opened the email. As she read its contents, tears welled up in her eyes. She had been awarded a prestigious scholarship for her outstanding academic achievements and commitment to community service. The scholarship would cover the remainder of her medical school tuition and provide additional funds for research and community outreach projects. Emma's mind raced with possibilities. This scholarship wasn't just about her education. It was an opportunity to make an even bigger impact on the lives of others. She thought of all the people she could help, all the communities she could serve. That evening, Emma called Sarah to share the news. "Oh, Emma," Sarah exclaimed, her voice filled with joy. "I'm so proud of you. You deserve this more than anyone I know." As they talked, Emma's excitement grew. She shared her ideas for using the scholarship funds to start a mobile health clinic that could reach underserved rural areas. "Think of all the people we could help," Emma said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. Over the next few weeks, Emma threw herself into planning. She met with her professors and mentors, seeking advice on how to make the most of this opportunity. She researched community needs and healthcare disparities, determined to use her education and resources to make a real difference. One day, as Emma was working on her plans in the library, she overheard a group of students discussing their struggles with medical school debt. Emma's heart went out to them, remembering her own financial worries not so long ago. Without hesitation, Emma approached the group. "Hi there," she said warmly. "I couldn't help overhearing. I know how tough it can be to manage the costs of medical school." The students looked up, surprised by her kindness. Emma shared her own story, from her days as a waitress to receiving the life-changing scholarship. She offered words of encouragement and practical advice on finding scholarships and financial aid. As she spoke, Emma realized that this scholarship wasn't just about her own journey. It was a chance to lift others up, to inspire hope in those who were struggling. She saw the same determination in these students' eyes that she had felt in her own heart years ago. Emma's dedication and hard work finally paid off as she completed her medical school program with flying colors. The day of her graduation was a bittersweet moment, filled with pride and a tinge of sadness as she thought of her mother who couldn't be there to see her achieve her dream. As she walked across the stage to receive her diploma, Emma felt a surge of emotion, knowing that this was just the beginning of her journey to help others. With her medical degree in hand, Emma began her residency at a bustling city hospital. The long hours and demanding schedule were challenging, but Emma thrived in the fast-paced environment. She soaked up knowledge like a sponge, eager to learn everything she could to become the best doctor possible. Despite her grueling schedule, Emma never lost sight of her commitment to giving back to her community. She continued to volunteer at the free clinic where she had started years ago, dedicating her precious free time to helping those in need. The clinic staff welcomed her back with open arms, marveling at how far she had come. Emma also made time to mentor younger medical students, remembering how much support had meant to her during her own journey. She organized study groups, offered advice on balancing work and personal life, and shared her experiences with those just starting out. One evening, after a particularly long shift at the hospital, Emma sat down with a group of first-year residents who were feeling overwhelmed. She listened to their concerns with empathy, her kind eyes encouraging them to open up. "I know it feels impossible sometimes," Emma said softly, "but remember why you're here. Every challenge you face is preparing you to save lives and make a difference." Her words seemed to lift a weight off their shoulders. As they talked, Emma shared stories from her own struggles and triumphs, reminding them that they weren't alone in their journey. As Emma progressed through her residency, her exceptional skills and compassionate approach to patient care didn't go unnoticed. Her colleagues marveled at her ability to connect with patients, explaining complex medical issues in a way that was both clear and comforting. Emma's supervisors took note of her dedication, often finding her poring over medical journals late into the night or checking on patients long after her shift had ended. One day, Dr. Anderson, the chief of medicine, called Emma into his office. Emma's heart raced as she stepped inside, wondering what this meeting could be about. "Dr. Dela Cruz," he began, using her professional title, "I've been observing your work over the past few months, and I must say, I'm impressed." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. "Thank you, sir," she replied humbly. Dr. Anderson continued, "Your commitment to patient care and your medical expertise are exceptional. We've received glowing feedback from patients and staff alike." Emma listened intently, her eyes wide with surprise and gratitude. "In fact," Dr. Anderson said, leaning forward, "your reputation has spread beyond our hospital. I've been contacted by Dr. Samantha Lee from Mercy General." Emma's breath caught in her throat. Mercy General was one of the most prestigious hospitals in the country. "Dr. Lee has offered you a position on their cardiology team," Dr. Anderson announced, a hint of pride in his voice. "It's an incredible opportunity, Emma. They're impressed with your work and believe you'd be a valuable addition to their staff." Emma sat in stunned silence for a moment, overwhelmed by the news. Her mind raced with thoughts of the possibilities this opportunity could bring: the chance to work with world-renowned doctors, access to cutting-edge medical technology, and the ability to help even more patients. I don't know what to say," Emma finally managed, her voice thick with emotion. Dr. Anderson smiled warmly. "You've earned this, Emma. Your hard work and dedication have paid off. We'll be sad to see you go, but this is an opportunity you shouldn't pass up." With her newfound position at Mercy General, Emma's career soared to new heights. But even as she worked alongside some of the best doctors in the country, she never forgot her roots or the kindness that had set her on this path. The memory of Mr. Thompson's generous gift and the struggles of her hometown community remained close to her heart. One day, during a visit back home, Emma was struck by how little had changed. The same diner where she once worked still stood, and many familiar faces greeted her warmly. But she also noticed the worried looks and hushed conversations about medical bills and lack of access to health care. That night, as Emma lay in bed in her childhood home, an idea began to form. She thought about the $1 million Mr. Thompson had given her years ago, and how she had used it to further her education. Now, she realized, it was time to truly pay it forward. Over the next few months, Emma worked tirelessly to bring her vision to life. She reached out to old colleagues, sought advice from mentors, and navigated the complex world of healthcare regulations. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime of planning and preparation, Emma's free health clinic opened its doors. The clinic was modest, housed in a renovated storefront on Main Street, but to the people of the town, it was a beacon of hope. Emma had stocked it with basic medical equipment, and recruited a small team of dedicated healthcare professionals who shared her vision. On opening day, Emma stood nervously at the front desk, watching as people began to trickle in. There was Mrs. Johnson, who had always struggled to afford her blood pressure medication. And there was little Timmy, whose asthma had gone untreated for far too long. As Emma began to treat her first patients, she felt a sense of fulfillment unlike anything she had experienced before. Here, in this small clinic in her hometown, she was making a real difference in people's lives. Word spread quickly about the compassionate doctor who had returned home to provide free healthcare. Soon, the clinic was bustling with activity, its waiting room filled with grateful patients. As news of Emma's clinic spread throughout the town and neighboring communities, it caught the attention of a local philanthropist, Mr. Richard Hartley. He had been looking for a worthy cause to support, and Emma's dedication to providing free healthcare touched his heart. One afternoon, Mr. Hartley decided to visit the clinic unannounced. He watched as Emma patiently explained a treatment plan to an elderly woman, her eyes kind and her voice gentle. The waiting room was packed, yet Emma took the time to make each patient feel heard and cared for. Moved by what he saw, Mr. Hartley approached Emma after her shift. "Dr. Emma," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Richard Hartley. I've heard wonderful things about your clinic, and I'd like to help." Emma's eyes widened in surprise. She had heard of Mr. Hartley's generosity, but never imagined he would take an interest in her small clinic. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Hartley," she replied warmly. "What did you have in mind?" Mr. Hartley smiled. "I'd like to make a substantial donation to your clinic. Your work here is truly inspiring, and I want to help you reach even more people in need." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as Mr. Hartley explained his offer. With his donation, the clinic could purchase new medical equipment, hire additional staff, and even expand into a larger space. It was more than Emma had ever dared to hope for. "Mr. Hartley, I don't know what to say," Emma whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "This will change so many lives." The philanthropist patted her hand gently. "You've already changed so many lives, Dr. Emma. I'm just helping you continue your good work." In the weeks that followed, Emma worked tirelessly to put Mr. Hartley's generous donation to good use. The clinic moved to a larger building, allowing them to see more patients and offer a wider range of services. New doctors and nurses joined the team, all inspired by Emma's dedication and compassion. As Emma's clinic continued to grow and thrive, she never forgot the small acts of kindness that had set her on this path. One sunny afternoon, as she was finishing up her paperwork, her receptionist knocked on her office door. "Dr. Emma, there's a family here to see you. They don't have an appointment, but they're insisting on speaking with you personally," the receptionist explained. Curious, Emma stepped out to greet the visitors. Her eyes widened in recognition as she saw the family of 4 she had helped at the diner years ago. The parents looked healthier and happier, and the children had grown considerably. "It's you," Emma breathed, her heart swelling with emotion. The mother stepped forward, tears glistening in her eyes. "Dr. Emma, we've been trying to find you for so long. We wanted to thank you properly for what you did for us that day at the diner." Emma's throat tightened as she remembered the struggling family and the small act of kindness that had meant so much to her. "Please, come into my office," she said, gesturing for them to follow her. Once seated, the father spoke up. "Your kindness that day, it changed everything for us. We were at our lowest point, but your note gave us hope. It made us believe that there were still good people in the world." The mother nodded, wiping away a tear. "We kept that note. It inspired us to keep going, to work harder, and now we're doing so much better. John got a promotion, I went back to school, and the kids are thriving." Emma listened, her own eyes filling with tears. "I'm so happy to hear that," she said softly. "That day meant a lot to me too. It reminded me why I wanted to become a doctor in the first place." The youngest child, now a teenager, spoke up. "We've been paying it forward too, Dr. Emma. We volunteer at the local food bank, and we always try to help others when we can. You taught us how much of a difference a little kindness can make." Emma's heart swelled with pride and joy. She reached out and squeezed the teenager's hand. "That's wonderful. You're absolutely right. A little kindness can go a long way. Emma's heart raced with excitement as she surveyed the bustling community center. Today was the day of the health fair she had organized through her clinic, and the turnout was even better than she had hoped. Colorful banners hung from the walls and booths lined the spacious room, each offering different health screenings and information. "Dr. Emma, we're running low on blood pressure cuffs at Station 3. Sarah, her longtime friend and now head nurse, called out as she hurried past. Emma nodded, quickly making her way to the supply room. As she grabbed the extra cuffs, she couldn't help but smile. This fair was the culmination of months of planning and hard work, but seeing the community come together made it all worthwhile. Back in the main hall, Emma weaved through the crowd, stopping to chat with volunteers and participants alike. She noticed an elderly couple hesitating near the cholesterol screening booth. "Hello there," Emma said warmly, approaching them. "Have you had your cholesterol checked recently?" The woman shook her head. "Oh, we don't want to be a bother. There are so many people here who need it more than us." Emma gently placed a hand on the woman's arm. "Everyone's health is important. Why don't I walk you through the process? It only takes a few minutes, and it could make a big difference." As Emma guided the couple to the booth, she overheard snippets of conversation around her. People were praising the fair, expressing gratitude for the free services and sharing health tips they'd learned. The positive energy in the room was palpable. Throughout the day, Emma moved from station to station, offering advice, comforting nervous patients, and ensuring everything ran smoothly. She even took time to demonstrate proper hand-washing techniques to a group of giggling children. As the afternoon wore on, Emma found herself at the diabetes screening booth, where she noticed a middle-aged man looking anxious. "Is everything okay, sir?" she asked, approaching him. The man sighed. "I've been feeling tired lately, and I'm worried it might be diabetes, but I've been avoiding getting checked because I can't afford the doctor bills." Emma's eyes softened with understanding. "That's exactly why we're here today. Let's get you screened, and whatever the result, we'll talk about your options. There are programs that can help." Emma's tireless efforts and compassionate work at her free health clinic didn't go unnoticed. One sunny morning, as she was preparing for another busy day at the clinic, her phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unfamiliar number. "Hello, Dr. Emma speaking," she answered, balancing the phone between her ear and shoulder as she sorted through patient files. "Dr. Emma, this is Janet from National Health Today. We'd like to feature you in our upcoming issue about healthcare heroes. Your story of kindness and dedication has caught our attention," the voice on the other end explained. Emma's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, wow. I'm honored, but I'm just doing what I believe is right," she replied humbly. The article in National Health Today was just the beginning. Soon, Emma's story spread like wildfire across various media outlets. Local news stations aired segments about her journey from waitress to doctor, and her commitment to giving back to her community. National newspapers picked up the story, praising her innovative approach to healthcare accessibility. As Emma's story reached more people, support for her clinic began pouring in from across the country. Donations big and small arrived daily, allowing Emma to expand the clinic's services and reach even more people in need. One afternoon, as Emma was reviewing the latest batch of donation letters, Sarah burst into her office, waving a tablet excitedly. "Emma, you won't believe this, you're trending on social media," Sarah exclaimed, showing Emma the screen filled with heartwarming messages and the hashtag #BeLikeEmma. Emma felt a mix of emotions: gratitude, humility, and a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that this recognition wasn't just about her. It was about the importance of kindness and the impact one person could have on an entire community. As the clinic buzzed with activity, Emma took a moment to reflect on her journey. From that first act of kindness at the diner to now running a nationally recognized free health clinic, she realized that every small act of compassion had the power to create ripples of change. As Emma's story continued to inspire people across the nation, invitations to speak at various events began flooding in. Medical conferences, community gatherings, and even university commencement ceremonies all sought to have Emma share her remarkable journey. At first, the thought of public speaking made Emma's stomach churn with nervousness. She was used to caring for patients one-on-one, not addressing large crowds. But she knew that sharing her story could inspire others to make a difference. So she pushed past her fears and accepted the invitations. Her first speaking engagement was at a local medical conference. As Emma stepped onto the stage, her hands trembling slightly, she took a deep breath and began to speak. "I never imagined I'd be standing here today," she started, her voice growing stronger with each word. "My journey began with a simple act of kindness in a small-town diner." As Emma recounted her story, from struggling waitress to respected doctor, the audience hung on her every word. She spoke of the challenges she faced, the kindness she received, and the unwavering determination that fueled her dreams. "Kindness has the power to change lives," Emma said, her eyes shining with emotion. "It changed mine, and I've seen it change the lives of countless others in our community." The response to Emma's speech was overwhelming. Doctors, nurses, and medical students approached her afterward, sharing how her words had touched them and renewed their commitment to compassionate care. Encouraged by this positive reception, Emma continued to accept speaking engagements. At a community event in her hometown, she saw familiar faces in the audience, including some of the very people she had helped over the years. "Each of you has the power to make a difference," Emma told the crowd, her voice filled with conviction. "Whether it's through a career in healthcare or simply by being kind to your neighbors, every act of compassion creates ripples of change." As Emma spoke at more events, she became more comfortable sharing her story. She learned to weave in anecdotes from her clinic, illustrating the real-world impact of accessible healthcare and community support. At a university commencement ceremony, Emma addressed a sea of eager young faces. "Your journey is just beginning," she said, smiling warmly. "Remember that success isn't just about personal achievement. It's about lifting others up along the way." With each speaking engagement, Emma's message of kindness and compassion spread further. She inspired medical professionals to approach their work with renewed empathy, motivated students to pursue careers in community service, and encouraged everyday citizens to look for opportunities to help others. Inspired by her own journey and the generosity that had changed her life, Emma decided to establish a scholarship fund for aspiring nurses and doctors from underserved communities. She remembered all too well the struggle of trying to pursue her dreams while barely making ends meet. With careful planning and the help of her network of supporters, Emma set up the Kindness in Action Scholarship Fund. The fund aimed to provide financial assistance to students who showed promise in the medical field, but lacked the resources to pursue their education. Emma reached out to local high schools and community colleges, spreading the word about the scholarship opportunity. She wanted to ensure that deserving students knew there was support available for them. As applications began to pour in, Emma was moved by the stories she read. Each applicant had a unique journey, filled with challenges and dreams that reminded her of her own past. She saw herself in these young hopefuls, hard-working individuals who wanted nothing more than to make a difference in their communities. With the help of a small committee, Emma carefully reviewed each application. They selected recipients based not only on academic merit, but also on their commitment to community service and their potential to give back. The day Emma awarded the first round of scholarships was one she would never forget. She stood before a group of bright-eyed students and their families, her heart swelling with emotion. "I stand here today because someone believed in me and showed me kindness," Emma said, her voice filled with warmth. "Now, it's my turn to believe in you." As she handed out the scholarship certificates, Emma saw the same mix of disbelief, joy, and determination in the recipient's eyes that she had felt when she received Mr. Thompson's life-changing gift years ago. One of the recipients, a young woman named Maria, approached Emma with tears in her eyes. "I never thought I'd be able to afford nursing school," Maria said, her voice trembling. "You've given me hope for a future I didn't think was possible." Emma hugged Maria tightly, feeling the full circle of kindness complete itself. She knew that these students would go on to touch countless lives, just as she had done. Emma's journey had come full circle. As she sat in the same diner where her own story began, she couldn't help but smile at the young waitress bustling between tables. The girl's name was Lily, and Emma saw a familiar spark in her eyes, the same determination and dreams she once had. Over the past few weeks, Emma had become a regular at the diner, not just for the coffee, but to observe Lily. She noticed how the young woman treated every customer with genuine kindness, even on the busiest days. One quiet afternoon, Emma decided it was time to reach out. As Lily refilled her coffee cup, Emma gently asked, "Lily, do you have a moment to chat?" Lily's eyes widened with surprise. "Of course, Dr. Emma. Is everything okay?" Emma patted the seat beside her. "Everything's fine. I just wanted to talk to you about something important." Lily sat down, her curiosity evident. Emma took a deep breath and began, "I couldn't help but notice how hard you work. It reminds me of myself when I was your age. Do you have any dreams beyond this diner?" Lily's eyes lit up. "Actually, I do. I've always wanted to be a nurse, but—" She trailed off, her smile fading. "But what?" Emma prompted gently. "It's just, I can barely make ends meet as it is. Nursing school seems impossible," Lily admitted, her voice tinged with disappointment. Emma reached out and squeezed Lily's hand. "I understand completely. I was in your shoes once. But I want you to know that it's not impossible. With hard work and a little help, you can achieve your dreams." Lily looked at Emma, hope blooming in her eyes. "Really? How?" Emma spent the next hour sharing her story with Lily, from her days as a waitress to her current role as a doctor. She told Lily about the scholarship fund she had created and offered to help her apply. "I believe in you, Lily," Emma said warmly, "and I want to help you pursue your dream, just as someone once helped me." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. "I don't know what to say, Dr. Emma. Thank you so much." Emma smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. She knew that by mentoring Lily, she was not only changing one life, but potentially many more in the future. As Emma left the diner that day, her heart felt full. She walked down the familiar streets of her hometown, memories flooding back with each step. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the buildings and trees. Emma found herself at the local park where she often came to think. She sat on a bench, watching families play and couples stroll hand in hand. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and Emma closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. In that moment, she felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Her mind wandered back to the day she received that life-changing check from Mr. Thompson. She remembered the shock, the disbelief, and then the determination to use that gift to help others. Emma thought about all the lives she had touched since then, the patients she had treated, the students she had mentored, and now, Lily, the young waitress with dreams so similar to her own. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, had created ripples of hope and change. She opened her eyes, gazing at the colorful sky. Emma realized that her journey had been more than just about becoming a doctor. It was about the power of compassion, the strength found in helping others, and the beautiful cycle of paying it forward. A sense of peace washed over Emma. She had not only fulfilled her own dreams, but had also created opportunities for others to pursue theirs. The scholarship fund she established would continue to support aspiring healthcare professionals for years to come. As the last rays of sunlight faded, Emma stood up from the bench. She felt renewed, ready to face whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. Her story was far from over, but she knew that every chapter would be filled with kindness, hope, and the unwavering belief in the goodness of people. Do you believe that a single act of kindness can truly change a life, as it did for Emma? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel. I am spending hours upon hours writing these heartwarming stories for you, and your support is what keeps me going.